a small comment. It's always fun because I gave you the little bio, and now I said widely used. Sorry, Ton, widely is not widely as the one of Ton. ggplot2 audience is far widely used. Okay. So I'll present the story of ggiraph. It started a long time ago. When I start working at Insightful. Insightful is an old company that disappeared, and it was selling S+. So for those of you that never heard about S or S+, S+ is a commercial version of R that exists when most of you were not born. So usually you can use the documentation of S+ to make your screen higher in your office. That's what it's used for now. But in the past, it was an important piece of software, and it disappeared in front of R, obviously. Nobody could face. 200 developer or 50 developer cannot face R with a price because it was expensive. So when I was working in Insightful, I find they put me in UK in a pharma company named AstraZeneca, and we created a tool named Clinical Patient Review Tool, something like that. So the idea was kind of book down, but from prehistory, being able to show a macro vision of the people, of the patient, into dot plot, box plot, and to be able to drill down from a point to a patient report. So you clicked on the point and you go to the specific patient report. And at this moment, we had something named Java applet, and there were Java graphic device that were created by Insightful, not the GD device of today, another one, an old one. And we were able to pack some graph into jar file and to provide that into web page so that people could play with animated graph, interactive graph. So that's how it starts, because it was very frustrating to work with Java at this moment. Already, it was a pain to work with Java. So SVG was becoming, we were in 2008, something like that. So SVG became quite known, and I started creating that device. So that was the occasion to learn C++, but the code was crappy. I believed it was just wonderful code, but now I know it was really bad code. But however, I was able to generate some graph from S+, like R, and to provide some SVG. SVG was not native in browser, so we had to use something named SVG Viewer from Adobe. I think it's still... Okay, I will need to share my screen later. I can't for now, but later I will need to share it. SVG Adobe Viewer was a software we need to install on the computer to be able to see the animation of the point of the SVG element. And suddenly, in 2010, they said, okay, we stop the support. So I was like, what? I lost so many time on that product. And in the same time, I changed of company. I went back to France and changed the work. So I forget about that. And then I go back in the R world, something like 4 or 5 years after. And I was a little bit old. I was rusty. Rusty is the correct term. You know, I thought I was very good, but suddenly I realized there was so many good and cool stuff to learn that I have to redo the past. So ggiraph came in mind because I just created my company named Ardata, and I did not have that much customer, so I had time to inspect and go deeper in the R code and to learn things. And I took time to try to recreate the R device driver I did in the past, but with some R. So that was an opportunity also to really go back on the foundation and to learn more than what I learned badly before, because I didn't read the correct book and things like that. So suddenly I understood what was memory leak and things like that, which are important. So that's it for the story. Okay, I need to open. Sorry.
Are you able to share?
Yeah, I need to open an authorization, but it should be okay now. Sorry, because there has been an update that way. It was not a good moment.
No worries.
Okay, I'll be back in a few seconds. I'm sorry. I'll be back in a few seconds.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Sorry for that.
No problem. We'll hang out. Let's see. Can check in with Tun. Can you tell us how things are going with version 4 and
It's just a bit of filler talk. Sure.
Yes, as a filler.
So we're getting in reports now of everything that no longer works as desired, and usually these are our faults. So we did something stupid, and we need to fix it in the future. And it didn't show up in the reverse dependency checks beforehand. So it's the thing you only learn once everybody switches to 4.0. But yeah, we plan to address these soon, and within a month get out the patch that makes a lot of things stable again. So that's what's going on with ggplot2 development right now. Just waiting for people to report problems and finding fixes for them. Realize all the places where we've been stupid.
Okay, thanks for the update. Anybody else want to jump in with a filler? Something, new projects they started? I think so. I guess I could make a plug for a meeting that is like coming up. So it's not exactly ggplot2 extension totally related, but I'm going to host a meeting with Kyle Walker, who does spatial visualization, and like I think he does a lot with interactive visualization, which will be interesting. But it's a meeting on what he's doing. What he's doing with AI in our package maintenance and development. So he like posts a lot on it on LinkedIn, and so I was like, let's have a look at that. So that'll be in 2 weeks, October 29th, just at 2:30 Eastern time. So that's what's next for this group. And let's see.
Okay, I'm back.
You're
Sorry.
back? Perfect. Okay,
Yes,
great timing. Yeah.
sorry. Sorry. Okay, can you see my screen?
It's just connecting. Yes.
Okay, so I created that RDV device, which is also an HTML widget, to help me also to get new customer and to help them be happy when to make them happy when I work with them also. So that's a very old application, but with some effort, it's working again.
Do you think you could
So
just close? I don't know if you could just move me out of the picture. I think it's going to be
yes,
like weird. Um,
is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
So I'll import some stupid data and show you how I use it and what I do with my customer with ggiraph. So this is an importation menu, and we can go to chart and we will use the box plot. Okay, because the box plot is cool to show. I'll choose some y value. I choose an x value, and I choose a group by. And this is the same idea than the first device driver we did for AstraZeneca 20 years ago. The idea is to let people read down from one macro vision to a specific point, at least the original ID. So there, because I had an identifier, and this identifier is mapped to the aesthetics of ggplot, I can use that identifier as a tooltip or a data identifier. And it makes things reactive into a Shiny application. So for example, this point, they are selected, and I think they bother me, they make my conclusion difficult. Okay, so let's drop them. And because of these reactive values, thanks to these reactive values, I can drop this value, for example, here, and replace the graph. So it adds 3 main attributes. It adds a tooltip. It adds a data ID, which is the identifier we can use as a reactive value from Shiny, but also which is used as an identifier to animate the different elements. So if two elements have the same ID, they will both be animated when you hover them. So here, for example, I can see all the points, and I don't know, I find that difficult, but some biologists like to really take time and see what are the points. But to me, the important point here is not about the tooltip. The important point is the data ID, because it's nice, okay, but really what helped me in my daily work is to be able to provide a reactive input from a graphic, from a ggplot graphic, like that. And some effort have been done so that this list can be changed lively. So you can do a selection, like a wide one, and do an anti-selection inside that. So like a manual anti-join. Et voilà. This is my selection. So what you saw there is the element of the panel can be animated. And later, the first year, or we were just animated some points or things like that. The year that follow the first year, we add some interactivity on scale and on theme. So here, for example, this is how we use. Let's click on that. Besides that, behind the hood, it's only JavaScript. JavaScript that will call shiny dot set input value, something like that. And they say, no, I want to change the label. And it will automatically adapt their graph to their wishes. Okay? So this is what is ggiraph. It's an SVG graphical device. It's an HTML widget, and it's a tool for it's an extension for rshiny, for rshiny. Okay, so let's now have a look on the gut of ggiraph. So ggiraph is a first graphical device. This is not the only one, but in that one, so all these C++ code are functions that need to be coded so that it can be a R graphical device. But in addition to that, we added a few nice things. That's what was the base of the ggiraph technology way of thinking. So when we will write a grid something that come from ggplot, we will trace on, like Tron, the film, we will add a trace on. It says, okay, from now, monitor all the points that you will create, for example. And then I will call tracer off, and that say collect all the elements that have been plotted. Just make a pause. Is everybody still there? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Cool. Okay, so what I need to do is to collect the ID that has been associated with a point, with a polygon, with a line, something like that. So as it is not native to our graphical device, we need to do that in a two-step procedure. Do the plot, create the elements, like point on the graph, and then collect the identifier of the dot you just add between the operation when you did the operation. And then we have an SVG that contained all the attributes we need to animate it. So let's go to the book. Okay, cool. So there you can see what I'm doing. I'm hooking this circle blah 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 that have been drawn by our graphical device, and the hook is a function that add attributes like ID or title. So for example, the tooltip title or Merck 280 is what is written in the title attribute. So that's what ggiraph is doing, basically. And then we have another layer of complexity. This is the JavaScript code that must be run to make that interactive. So all is okay. Maybe opening VS Code was not a good idea there. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of files in the base repository. Many of these files are related to Node.js, to JavaScript developments. So all the JavaScript functions are stored okay, this is because I refactor it. Okay, they're all there. So for example, this is the functions that do the overing work. For example, in ggiraph, we implement an algorithm so that when you hover the point, you don't have to be exactly on the point. So that means nearest hover. For that, there is a JavaScript function that do the calculation, a toolbar, etc., etc. And we recently migrate all of that with Packer, the R package I create. One single compressed JS file from many JavaScript files. So I'm very happy of that evolution. And that's not all for the architecture. One big trouble is how to add these things on above the logic of ggplot. So for that, we need to create interactive geom. So I will only talk about interactive geom. So for some geom, it can be easy. And for some geom, it can be very difficult. I will close VS Code. It's very slow. Okay, let's have a look. For example, boxplot is interactive is very important for my customer, but I would have been happy to not implement that because I had to copy many code of ggplot. So you don't feel very clever when you do that, but it has to work. So you do it, and while thinking I'll do better later when I find a clever solution. So for the boxplot, this is complicated because you have to make interactive the whisker, the outlier, everything, every element, and these are separate shape. These are separate group of globe. So the code is not really nice to see. But there are some other code. For example, that one is a very new one. ggBswarm. It's a very nice package that create a random noise around point. It's very cool to show point on boxplot. For example, they do that in genomics. So the function needed to, okay, sorry, this is very slow on my screen. The function needed to create a geom interactive from geom quasi-random is that code. So sometimes you are very happy. I just said layer interactive and specify as interactive geom to use. So it's overwriting the default of ggBswarm. So that's all for the major aspect of ggiraph. I don't know at this moment I can ask what you'd like to see next. Do you want to see some example or Do you want to talk about some specific aspect? If someone have a specific.
Well, we're happy to do with whatever you prefer, David.
Okay. Okay.
But
So
if
I'll
he has
go
a
on with.
burning question from what he has presented so far, then maybe
Okay.
now is a good time to have a quick break to
Okay.
ask you
So
a
I'll go
question.
on. So that journey was very difficult because of some of the font management. When I start this project, the difficult stuff is not implementing ggiraph. The difficult thing it was to create a tool that is able to extract what we call the font metrics, so the width of a string plus the ascent or the descent, so grosso modo the height of the box that is around the string, because in an R graphical device you need that. And that is very difficult to compute because you need to know what is the font and you need to have a tool to help you measure that. So first trial were something like 10 years ago, and we did that with some people of RStudio at this moment. It was the first trial, I think. But it helped me a lot for ggiraph because in that package, I had implemented functions that were able to call that font metrics. So that was very difficult. I had to learn many things. And one really pain point of the story was it was relying on free type, Kero fonts. And one of the aspects of Kero font is on Windows, it will scan, the first time it will scan your Windows directory or something like that. So most users had the bad surprise to want to try ggiraph and to suddenly have to wait 3 minutes so that the font cache was being built. So it was very bad. And then Thomas Lynn Peterson and people from RStudio worked on that much more seriously and deeply than what I did. And they created a system font. And this system font is existing. Maintenance of ggiraph became, I would say, quite easy now, except sometimes when you have to do when you have a bug with a new version of ggplots, but I had time to do it. It's not an issue. It's an issue of organization. But having a problem with the font, this gives you a lot of stress. And I was not sure I would be able to fix that. So that was the situation something like 5 or 6 years ago when system fonts was not there. And today, with that, GD tool have been kind of recycled into a tool for managing font.
Do you have time for do you think you could speak to one question before?
Sure. I don't see the
so-
question because I'm on iBrowser, so interrupt, please.
Oh, sure. So Mitch asks, he just put his question in the comments. What makes some geoms more complicated to make interactive compared to what you showed with the quasi-random interactive, that geom versus
Oh,
the geom
the
error bar?
composite side of the geom. A box plot is made of a box, a segment for the median, a segment for the Q0 and the Q4, another segment for the middle, and the outlier. And the outlier are computed by ggplot, so we can't get this outlier and redo the stuff. We need to duplicate the code of ggplot so that we get the correct value of outlier so that we can add the ID corresponding to this outlier. And that's really something I would like to avoid in the future. So maybe my brain will give me the solution. I don't know, but I think that's something that that's not on the side of ggplot. That's on the side of ggiraph. We need to find something clever to benefit from that instead of duplicating the code. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, does that make sense, Mitch? You can answer in the comments, or if you have a follow-up. I guess he said yes. Okay. And so I guess I have a follow-up, because is the B swarm is the quasi-random, is that an extension package? Or is that like, that's not native ggplot2?
No, this
Is
is
not.
an extension package.
Yeah.
I will try to say it in a correct English name, ggbeeswarm, like
Yeah.
bees.
Yep.
Okay.
Swarm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's yes, exactly the mention in the comment, exactly. And this is a wonderful package. It's really produced nice things.
Okay.
So just to complete, unless there are more questions, I don't know Loon ggplot. Is it recent? I don't know.
Oh.
There were another question.
Oh, well, my question is just how has it gone in general? Are you done sharing your screen, by the way? It's hard for me to.
I could just finish showing the font stuff, and
Okay,
that will
sure.
be over.
Okay. My follow-up question is just like how it has gone with interactivity between ggiraph and other extension packages. Have like, so it sounds like you incorporated some extension
Yes, the question makes a lot of sense.
physical reverse.
Yes, we need to enable extensibility because I will not have time to or volunteer to do everything. But that's the question. So yes, we need to export the function like layer interactive and other functions that need also to be exported to make things easier for people. But I wanted to get end back on the code because I was working erratically on the open source. Sometimes I spent 1 week on that, and suddenly during 6 months I was not working, so everything was not clear in my mind. So I had to work again on that, so that I'm motivated and sure we can do it. Okay. So last things I wanted to show is importance of font. So I will just use, because it's faster, the website. Okay, that part. Okay, when you publish a ggiraph, it's very important to realize that the ggiraph, if working on your computer, may not work on another computer, because you are using a font that the user that will read the graph on the web doesn't have in his computer. For example, let's say I have a font named blah blah blah. Okay, it will work on my computer, but you won't have blah 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 on your computer, so you will have something weird with the character.
Oh,
So
David, could you just close the window that has me again? Sorry about that.
yes,
Sorry to interject.
no problem. Sorry, me. So if you don't add this font, you will not be able to have this, let me show you, fancy cursive font, for example. So the font is something user don't bother a lot, but should bother more. But I know it's difficult, but they should bother. You need the font on your laptop when you are producing the graphic, so that the graphical device is able to do the font size metric. But also and very important, you need to embed the font in the web page so that if the user don't have that font, he will read your graph even if the font is not installed. So how do you do that? You add that in the HTML dependencies of the ggiraph. So obviously I will not find it quickly. No, it's there. So for example, I use Roboto in the web page, and Roboto font is defined there. And the font are embedded in the web page. The fonts are part of the file system you use to show the web page. So in ggiraph, you will need to define or to be sure you use a family, a font family, for example, Roboto. But if you use Roboto, you must add Roboto as a font in your output. So I'm working on that actually to make that easier. But that's what the purpose of GD tool, since system fonts replace it. I recycle that package into a package that is able to provide you font from Google Font and few fonts that don't need web access, like Libération 100, for example. Okay, I said all the technical things I thought that was to be said technically and historically.
Awesome. Well, it was really fun to hear the backstory about this, the package, and just all the different dimensions that have gone into it, and like the tricky bits and how you overcame those. So we'll open it up to questions at this point. I do see, let's see. Rich had a question. I may have missed some more in the comments, and I see that Corey has a question. Corey looks all queued up and ready to go. Do you want to, Rich or Corey, either way?
Go ahead with Rich. They asked their question first.
Sure.
Hi, I can just ask real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. So I was curious about, and I apologize if I don't have like the best technical way to ask this, but like the lightweightedness of ggiraph versus other more. Right now we use a lot of Shiny, and a lot of our plotting is done with, it was with High Charter, but admittedly High Charter hasn't been very easy to get a hold of the develop or maintainer of it. So we shifted over to Plotly for a lot of things. Plotly is a very like intensive package library. I was curious if you can speak to the benefits of using ggiraph over these in terms of like how it impacts Shiny runtimes and just what you're loading over some of these more intensive ones.
Yeah, I have answer for that. I have clear answer. So for maps, you should prefer leaflet because polygon are, you know, this is nice for a very compressed map, but this is not made to replace or to compete with leaflet, for example. I can't really talk about Plotly because I learned Plotly was existing when I start working on ggiraph. So I always prefer ggiraph without knowing a lot Plotly. But my thought is Plotly is a huge company that distributes a lot of software. So I guess their charging support is quite good. I don't know. I would say that if you have many elements in the ggiraph plot, don't use ggiraph. Okay, ggiraph is made for things like dot plot. You can eventually do box plot with many points, but after 1,000 or 2,000, if you have many plot of this kind, the page will be heavy to load. So that's my answer. This is cool if you need control, like an input, a reactive input. If you just need tooltip, I don't know, maybe they are better. If you like ggplot like me, ggiraph is cool because it respects everything ggplot do.
Yeah, yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Thank you.
All right. Corey?
Yeah, thanks a lot. This was cool. I'm new to the package. I've never used it before, and so, but something that you showcased raised a question that's an issue that's familiar to me. It looks like the interactivity is achieved through these individually rewritten geomes or geome convenience layers, geome interactive boxplot, geome interactive this and that. The new version of ggplot2 has these constructor functions that allow you to kind of say what operations you want to do and then build a kind of geom out of that. And something I've been meaning to do is build little constructors that'll take an existing geom layer function and adapt it to a kind of slightly different setting. Do you do that when you're building these things? Like, do you have a little convenience function that you just run on geom point and you get geom interactive point, or do you have to do this manually? And if you do it manually, have you thought about some way of automating that process in a way that would make it then you'd be able to do it for extension packages as well, provided they're written in a consistent way?
No, we do that with a very ugly function, but I don't think it's ugly. It's existing since 10 years, so there are some edge case in that function. But yes, there is a function that iterate recursively in the grub and in the group grub, and that is able to, that will try to set the attribute equally on every subtree of the GG grub. Imagine a box, a GG box, box plot, is made of, is a group of grid stuff. So you start from there, and then you look at the children. If the children is a grid, you try to apply the interactive aesthetics to that. And to apply that, we have another utility function. So basically, this is what I want to export, and then I will expose to frustrated user, and suddenly I will face a lot of issue, and it will make things better.
Cool, thanks.
I have a question. I'm sorry I missed the first 10 minutes or so of your presentation. But question about interactive graphics in general. And for me, my knowledge stems from kind of the ideas from the 90s of interactive graphics, where the key kind of a graph was a scatter plot, and or a collection of scatter plots. And what you might want to do is zoom, pan, selective point identification, which is what I see nicely implemented in ggiraph. But then linking of multiple plots, or linking of multiple displays. So you could have a scatter plot, maybe a table, where you could select observations in one plot, and you would see them highlighted in another plot. I just recently discovered there's a loon.ggplot package by R.W. Oldford, which tries to define a grammar for interactive graphics. And I've just only begun to explore it, but the general question is, can we think about an overall view of what interactive graphics means, what it can be, what it should be, that would encompass these different aspects of interactivity, more than just hovering your mouse over a pointer and over a point and seeing what its coordinates are, but being able to work with maybe two or more graphical displays in an interactive way.
Okay. So first, with patchwork, you can do it. It's a patchwork will create a ggplot, and the two ggplot will be interfaced together. So when you highlight one point on one side, you can see the same point on the other plot. That's one answer, but that's not the answer to everything you asked. If your question is how to link a point in a graph with a point in a table on a web page, okay, this is something that ggiraph cannot do. This is something to be done at the document level. This is programming, this is web programming or something like that. ggiraph goal is not to, as I said, to provide tooltip. ggiraph purpose is to provide me a way to select point interactively from Chinese. That was the main purpose. But I would say there is interactivity and dynamic effect. Interactivity is for dashboard in my head. I want to select point, get that as a reactive value, and drill down on this set of patients, for example. Dynamic graphic is tooltip, a nice effect when you have a spaghetti plot, for example, you put the mouse on a line and the other one are blurring so that you can focus on the one you're hovering. Okay, that's what I can answer. But linking table and different graph in the same web page, this is to be done at the document level. So I guess this is a mission for Quarto or Markdown or whatever NPM Node.js library is existing. I don't know, but it cannot be done with ggiraph only.
I kind of appreciate that. Let's look at like for a single scatter plot. Can you drag a rectangle and all the points within that rectangle will be selected?
Yes, we can do it.
And then, so one thing from the interactive graphics that I'm thinking of is that you could drag a rectangle around. You see a cluster of points that's far away from the rest. You drag a rectangle around them, and you change the color or the point symbol or something on the collection of points within that rectangle. I think that's kind of an important feature. Just forget about linking, but just for a single.
Yeah, but that's what I show, maybe badly, but that's what I show with the interactive application at the very first beginning. I was able to click on a scale and to change, for example, the label. I could change the color as well. I just decided to just change the label, but I could change the color. But that's something to be programmed in the page that hosts the graphic. So even if it's not ggiraph, it would be Plotly, but the page that hosts the graphic is responsible from that. IDOP, the graphic, can communicate out of his box and to interact with the other. It could work, but it seems really fragile.
Okay, thanks.
And I see the comment, yes, there are many other solutions, it seems. So Plotly is the main one to me, but it seems Loon ggplot came out. I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Thanks for the link, Summer. Yeah, okay, let's see. Other questions, if there are any. Tun has a question.
Yeah, hi David. Thanks for the talk. I was wondering how much of a hassle it was to write SVG device from, I don't know, did you write it from scratch or was there a template that you used, the Cairo, for example?
There were multiple versions. The first one was very good, but I was not outputting text, so I was just very happy. And then there has been other version. And then SVG Lite, because we were talking with Adley at this moment, and SVG Lite came out. We didn't have the same objective, and I was not in the rhythm of RStudio because they wanted to do that package, and it's on my night time I do that, so it was not the same rhythm. And I didn't want to do SVG Lite. I wanted to have that interactive graphics. So then at some point we looked at what SVG Lite did, and then we stopped doing that because we wanted to have a tiny XML C++ library that enabled us to add the attributes a posteriori. And we were so happy to find that, because the first version was setting the attribute a priori. So it was a kind of bet. You were betting everything was okay. So many versions until tiny XML. And to be something very important to say that we don't work together anymore. That's a pity, but that's how things are. But PanaIoT Skintos is very important in this development. I did not write everything. I write first versions, and then suddenly at time, and he was crazy about the project, and he decided to complete with 100% of the ggplot geom. So I was like, what? Stop! I will have a lot of support to provide with that. He was like, no, this is great. It will work. So PanaIoT is a very important part of the ggplot, ggiraph journey also.